All right, high levelers, welcome back to another episode of the HighLevel Experience Podcast. Today we've got a powerhouse in the SaaS world joining us all the way from UK, a platinum level, high level SaaSpreneur, a mastermind behind Hello Freedom, an easy peasy business. He's not just about building businesses, he's about building freedom. Currently on a mission to hit 1,000 SaaS clients, or he may have already hit it already. And today we're going to be talking about his concept called the Millionaire Flywheel that's turning heads in the industry. So please welcome to the show, Danny Clarke.
Hey, thank you for inviting me onto the podcast.
Hey, Danny, it's awesome to have you, mate. I heard a lot about you. It's not one of those old ones when, you've been in the community for a while and you hear these names and you're interacting with these people and then suddenly, there we go, here we are for the first time actually talking face to face.
Well, I appreciate you being flexible with your diary to allow me to not fit into your normal calendar.
I don't know what it is, but evenings, like when my son goes to bed, household is quiet. It's like, for me, I don't know about you, but for me, the most productive time. Like I go full focus and do all that cool stuff that like I want to build stuff. Nobody's bugging me or anything.
It used to be like that, but my kids are like 14, almost 12 and 9 now. So they're the crazy hours. Like they have some serious energy and they're really loud. So yeah, like 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. That's my sweet spot these days. 4-hour workday. That's the one.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, you beat me to it. That's pretty impressive. Let's talk about it because I've been grinding last, however long anyway, working pretty long hours. So for me lately, 14, 16 hours for last couple of months. How the heck do you do that? You only work 4 hours.
So there's a story to it. I used to be in financial services. So this is like, I'm 38 now. So this is like in my early 20s. And there's a little bit of crossover as we kind of moved into the digital space around about 2014, 2015. But I was grinding and that was what I knew. And for me to be able to get more, I had to do more. And if I wanted to grow something, I had to, work harder. And my parents instilled in me some wonderful values and they taught me the value of hard work and, do my best, that I could. And I was able to tolerate a lot of stress and a lot of bullshit. And so I could work incredibly hard because I was fortunate to be blessed with that natural ability. It wasn't something that I worked on or practiced on. It's just naturally was able to do that. And it got to a point where we moved into the online space, was very much an early adopter. We was building a personal brand before people said it was a personal brand. We was just posting shit on the internet and getting lots of engagement and then ended up teaching other people how to do it. And I was about 2-3 years into this and I just thought, I've got into this entire freedom thing. And I thought, the more successful I become, the harder I work. Like, this is backwards. Like, when do I get to enjoy this? We launched a membership back in the day. 100 days, we had 100 clients. 200 days, we had 200 clients. Not too long later, we grown it to 12,000 members. And I just had 12,000 people messaging me pretty much every week asking for help. Just me. Like, no team, nothing to separate between. Oh, this is bullshit. I hate this. Well, I'd followed everything. I'd done the one-to-many. I'd followed the leverage. I'd done every single... whatever you were supposed to do, I did it. And it wasn't working because it just gave me more work to do. And I'd got to a point where I was staying up till 2, 3 in the morning just to kind of maintain everything. And I'd got to a point where secretly I was actually surfing the internet because I was traveling the world at the time. I was surfing the internet and I'm actually looking at cheap rental properties and I'm looking at jobs on Indeed.com for like 30, 40,000 thinking, I would rather do that because this is shit. And I was so done with it. And as fate brings people together, had an opportunity to jump onto a coaching call with a wonderful lady called Tina Marie. She's now with a guy, I don't know if they're married, but he's a venture capitalist called Dexter Abraham over in America. Incredible guy, kind of knows your Dan Kennedys, your Jay Abrahams, all those kind of people. And so I had this coaching call with her. And at the time, I was stuck at an income level, which was around about £15,000 a month. Even though we're doing really well, we've got all these clients. And she's like, well, what's the goal? I'm like, well, I want to build it bigger. Why? Ego, pride, right? No other reason really. Prove I'm better than other people. Stupid reasons, not good reasons. And she said, how are you going to do that? And work harder, do more, twice as many funnels, twice as many leads, twice as many Facebook Lives. And he's like, well, what about this? How could you achieve exactly the same, but you was to work half as much? What would that look like? I was like, that's an interesting question. I never thought about it like that. I've always thought about how can I grow it rather than, well, how can I just do the same, but manage it in a far more manageable way? And that was the beginning of it. And within 6 months, I'd reduced down from working, 14, 15, 16-hour days to 10, 12-hour days to 7, 8-hour days to within 6 months, I was working an hour a day. And the only reason I was working 1 hour a day is not because I wanted to work 1 hour a day, but it's because a lot of the people that we was coaching and training at the time were network marketers. We kind of fell into that network marketing space, and they was all working part-time. So it was kind of a monkey see, monkey do, right? I could do it in an hour a day and look at all this coaching business I've built. So you can do this in an hour a day if you're a network marketer, right? And so we did that for a while and everything grew. We got more clients. We made more money. Admittedly, I was bored out of my head. And so I found the sweet spot for me was closer to a 4-hour working day. And a 4-hour working day then became a really interesting concept because by putting a finite amount of time onto something, it forced me to find creative solutions to solve problems. Because if I didn't have enough time to deal with all my clients, well, how do I solve that? Well, can I create a different model? Can I charge more? What are the options? If I'm not able to facilitate all of this client work, well, what are the options? Are there system strategies, automations? Are there delegation? Are there people that I can hire? Again, it just helped me to solve problems. And so the hardest thing, because we've helped now people for a long time switch to a 4-hour workday, is the reason most people don't only work 4 hours a day is because if they had all that much free time, they wouldn't know what the fuck to do with it, is the cold, harsh truth.
That's
and so people
me.
work through
I'm
boredom.
such a workaholic.
People work because they feel they have to. And we're not in a society anymore, which is like the industrial society where input creates output. In a knowledge industry, and especially now with AI, how it's advancing things, you don't have to work and grind. People will fall back to that as a baseline, but if that's what everyone else is doing as a baseline, then you're not going to create the difference that you're trying to create for yourself, which is not the same as everyone else by doing the same as everyone else, right? You've got to do something differently, which is you think your way through the problem. Here's the benefits to working 4 hours a day. Number one, you will be a happier, healthier individual. And I don't know your family life, but I think you've got kids. Have you got kids, Vit? I think you have.
Yeah, I've got one son.
Right. So you want to be the happiest, healthiest version you could be for your son, right? So that's the first benefit. The second thing is it's a wonderful education on boundaries. And being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, there is such a blurring of the lines because of fear around building a business that the lines are blurred all the time. And the lines are blurred because people convince themselves they're not working as hard as they are, or they're working harder than they are, right? There's never actual truth, right? It's just that perception of things at the time, right? Glass half full, glass half empty sort of thing. But time is measurable and it's trackable, and it's an integrity piece that you can keep yourself accountable to. And so it creates firm boundaries. And having a firm boundary in all areas of your life will allow for you to have firm boundaries in other areas, with how you show up for clients, with what you're prepared to do and not prepared to do, with the type of clients you want to work with and you don't want to work with, right? It's a practice. It's a daily habit. It's a daily practice of a skill of boundary control. And I don't always stick to a 4-hour workday, is the truth, because sometimes there is a surge, there is momentum, and you have to ride it. But to have it as a default to go back to know it's possible and to build from there will, for most people, allow them to create and build a business which is scalable, which is exciting, but more importantly, which is sustainable, which is what most people forget about, because scale periods are just small, tiny 90-day periods. You go from here to here over 90 days. Sometimes it takes you 5 years to have that scale over a 90-day period, but rapid growth happens. but most of the time you're not. Right? So how do you get through? It's not sprint, it's marathon, right? And it's possible. And I'm happy to go into that in more detail. It wasn't what the point
Yeah, I
of
was
this
gonna stop
podcast
you
going
there
to be.
for a second, because like I'm doing something wrong if I'm working that many hours and you're working 4 hours. But like it's an interesting one. It's like and even for the listeners, like how do you fathom this? Because it's like the idea for me in my head is like I got to work extra in order to build that machine, that vehicle that will then work for me, make money for me. Like I'm slowly growing my team and I'm delegating more, but I'm still not quite there. And in my view, it's like, well, I got to keep grinding until I hit that, I get over that edge, and now I can, start to scale back. But the way you explain it is like you do it the other way around. You set it up from the get go, and then you work around that that boundary of 4 hours. But like and I'm chef by trade. This is probably, I don't know why I'm so like such a workaholic, but I keep telling people typically it's like, well, when I work in the kitchen in a restaurant, you never stop. There's always something to do. So I don't know
The
if
reason
that's
why
too much.
people work hard is because people attach value to working hard. I'll give you an example. So if you have two people in an office and the person who sits to the left of you, they arrive early into the office, they work through their lunch, they leave late, they attend every business meeting, and let's say the value that they bring into the business is $50,000 worth of value into the business every single month. The person to your right, they arrive late, they leave early, they're always on holiday, they're never talking about work things, they're talking about everything else. They probably have an extended lunch break, a couple of times a week. And the value that they bring into the business is also $50,000. So value-wise, they both bring in the same. But if you was to be forced to keep one and to fire one, which one would you keep? You keep the harder worker, right? But the reality of it is, this person on the right is able to do exactly the same without working so hard. So actually, they're more effective. So you should keep the effective person, but people don't value output on effectiveness. They value output on the amount of work or hours that somebody puts into, because it's measurable. Like it's a visibility thing. You can see somebody working hard. You can see somebody grinding. You can see somebody still sat at their desk for an extra 2-3 hours. You can't see effectiveness because it looks like they're doing less. It's just that they're better at output. So you need to switch the mindset to, well, what is the output? And the reason why most people don't focus on that is because most people don't actually know what they want. Because knowing what you want is actually attached to what is my idea of happiness and contentment. Most people don't know what that is. And they don't know what it is because most people are told 1,000 different ways every single day of what happiness and contentment should look like. And so there's a constant inner battle of I should have this, I should have this. It's comparison. It's the thief of joy, right? And so you need to be so good at just blocking all external bullshit and go, actually, this is what makes me happy. This is what makes my wife, my partner happy. This is what makes my children happy. This is what makes my local community happy. Like it's, how do you make things more insular in a world where you can't be insular? Right? So it's really contrarian how it is. And I don't even know if I'm right. I definitely wouldn't want to preach and say, this is the way. This is just where I've discovered that works best for me, which allows me to maintain a sensible workload, but also ultimately be focused on, for me, what's the most important thing for myself, which is my happiness and my freedom. And so everything else is a vehicle to create that. And that's hopefully helpful to people listening to this. And, it's with all the advancements of AI and technology, an opportunity which is available to so many more people, because it's not even it's an opportunity. I think it's going to become a necessity because we're going to have to work less. Because we either maintain the same level of busyness and everyone's productivity and output becomes infinitely better, exponentially better, because everyone can just produce so much more. Every single human on the planet's got 1,000 AI agents producing hundreds of thousands of things from every day. Well, productivity just goes through the roof. Or the reality is a few people do that and most people are left with nothing to do. So
That's
people are
more
going to have to
likely.
find ways to fill their time.
I think that's where it's all going. Yeah. Few of us will be on top, and then the rest will have, I don't know, social, like universal income or something. It's crazy outlook when you think of it that way. But back on the positive side. So this is impressive. So 4 hours. So what the heck do you do with the rest of your day?
I love football. I love my dogs. I love my family. And that pretty much fills the rest of the time. You know, I take my kids to school every day. I pick them up from school every day. I have 3 kids and 2 dogs. The house is an absolute shit show most of the time, messy and whatever. So that takes an hour, in the morning to sort it all out, life admin. You know, my wife and I, we often say, I don't know how the hell people can have a full-time job and make it work. I have no idea. Our lives are so busy just living our lives. You know, I coach my son's football team on a Monday and a Wednesday. My daughter's football training Thursdays and Saturday mornings. My son plays for a second team on Tuesdays, Saturdays. I play football myself Mondays, Fridays, Sundays. Just that. Like that is plenty. It's too much, you know, for the majority of people. And it's funny. I have friends, even friends who are in the industry, especially their wives. You do too much. You play for too much football. You do this, right? Because they can't understand how it's possible. How can I do this and all this work and all this stuff that we do and do all of this and do all of this? Because if you don't know, you don't know. And it doesn't make sense. And it is what it is. Right?
You're making it sound too easy. Danny, can we break it down? Because like there's so many people listening. We have newbies in the high-level community that just started their agency or SaaS. We have people who've been around for a while and they're still grinding. You know, people want to get there in a way. How do we do it? Like, obviously now it's, you know, the way you explain it makes all sense now with, you know, I believe you're one of the top SaaSpreneurs in UK based on the numbers. So that's obviously, I mean, everything comes down to money. Like that's how the world spins around, right? You can't have that freedom with residual income. So there's got to be a blueprint. I'm finding it difficult to think like, okay, well, do I wake up tomorrow and just go 4 hours and that's it? Like when I know like that's like, is that what you said?
Yeah. Because, and I tell you why I know that. I used to try a softly approach with people. Look, I know you're working crazy hours at the moment. It's a big adjustment. Like, let's kind of feather it down. And, you know, it's like anything. It's, you make a decision, you commit and you go all in. On the flip, if you wanted to, right, let's say that, I won't use an example. We'll use someone else because it's not nice to talk about this sort of stuff if it's us. But let's just imagine that there is a scenario where somebody is terribly ill or poorly and you need to generate $100,000 in income and you've got 30 days to do it. You would go all in. You would grind your fucking ass off to make that happen. So it's not about commitment or energy or decision making because we all have the potential to do it. It's just when it comes to working 4 hours, people don't put that same level of energy into it because it's a social norm to not have to live that way. Well, it's fine. I can just work as I am, 7, 8 hours. And so we just make kind of small, tiny excuses. So the only reason it doesn't happen is because people don't want it hard enough to happen. Now, you could say, well, that's great. That's a decision. You know, because at the end of the day, we're all just making decisions on what should ultimately be towards the betterment of our lives, happiness, joy, and for those people around us. I would say, if though you're doing it just because it feels weird or you're not sure, well, okay, there may be valid reasons. I won't say they're really valid reasons, but the valid reasons. You just don't know what the other side of it looks like, you know, and that's why conversations like these happen. Because I don't preach it. I don't go around telling people this is what you need to do. This is some of the words for me. And this is how we achieved it. And some people might go, do you know what? That sounds really good. And I think freedom's really interesting because you said freedom, you need to have money to have freedom. No, you don't. We went traveling around the world. And so for a period of time, we was in Bali. And we was going through these tiny villages and there's no money, you know, a lot of the time there's no running water, you know, the sanitary issues or whatever. And these kids running around, they were happy as anything. They were beaming and they just had, you know, a crappy football, couple of sticks and just loads of open space. Like freedom is not a financial thing. Freedom is being able to live and sustain a lifestyle that brings you joy and happiness. And I know that to be true because freedom's always been a thing for us. So we've taught freedom and we spoke about freedom a lot. Some people will say freedom for them is the ability to go and take their kids to school and pick them up. That's freedom. Some people will say freedom comes because they're able to operate 4 businesses and they have a total combined portfolio value of $2 billion. For some people, freedom is being able to go on holiday 2 times a year. So freedom is different to everybody. There is no wrong or right freedom. Some people need more money for freedom. Some people need no money for freedom. Some people having money, it makes them more trapped. So what does it all mean? You need to have the conversation with yourself to go, what is it that I actually want? What actually makes me happy? And people really struggle with that. And so what's an easier way to sometimes find it out? What are all the things that don't make me happy? Because if I said to you, what do you want for dinner tonight? You'll go, all right, what do you not want to have for dinner, right? Where are we not going out? If us two go out for dinner tonight, where are we not going tonight? Well, I don't want to go here and here and here and here and here. So sometimes it's easy to say what you don't want. Whatever the process of elimination is, it's just understanding what it is. And I also think that most people try to build a business that's bigger than what they actually need it to be because of social pressures and ego and pride. Most people, if they can earn, well, you're in Australia, right? So it's dollars. I don't know what the exchange rate is. So look, if you gave most people in Australia 7,000 to 10,000 Australian dollars every month and said, you get to work like pretty steady hours, but you got pretty much, all this extra time to enjoy with your family and your friends and social circle, that would be such a life of freedom. And yet so many people, when they're building a business, they're chasing the 25,000, the 50,000. We built a business. We were super lucky. So from like 2016 through to 2019, right place, right time. We was good at what we did, but also we had so much luck and good fortune that kind of opened doors for us. But we grew a business, and I never really talk about finances, but we were very successful. We had 130,000 customers across 76 countries to kind of give you an idea. So we was very successful, was very blessed. From the period of growing from 250,000 plus for a long time, my life got significantly worse to the point where it's like, what's the point? You pay more tax, you pay more staff, you have more problems, you have more risk, you work longer hours for whose benefit? Because it's not for yours, it's for other people's. So it goes back to, what's freedom to you? Because a lot of people can achieve freedom by working less hours, doing more things that they love, which most of the time doesn't cost money. It's going for a walk with your dogs. It's playing football in the garden with your son. It's like, that's really what people tend to mean by freedom. Material things are less important for most people. So it comes back to, what does it all mean for you? And what's the point?
So this is not something I can answer right now.
I'm not asking.
I know you're not. I'm just saying it out loud because I'm thinking maybe the guys are listening. They feel like maybe they have to answer it for themselves. Like, hey guys, like, I think this is one of those things, like, think about it, like I'm going to think about it for sure. Like, I mean, I'm laughing as well because, I've delegated pretty much everything when it comes to this podcast at this point. It used to be about 8 hours per episode and I've got it all delegated. And one of the team members that, is helping is my wife. She's going to be doing the editing. So she's going to be laughing her tits off because she keeps telling me all that, like the money is not everything and all that. So yeah, I'm going to get some shits for that already. Oh, but yeah, this is something I got to think about because like, I definitely don't hate my work. I enjoy what I do and I've got it quite varied and I'm a bit of a nerd. I mean, there's no better thing you could play around with right now in this day and age than high level, like with all this cool stuff. So I do enjoy that. And for me, if I was to answer it bravely without too much overthinking it, I think it would be fulfillment, just creating something that other people value and that makes some impact for them. But I think the more thing is, especially The meaning to me is that they value it, that they enjoy the work that I provide and it benefits them. That's kind of, and I mean, probably if you went into bloody some hypnosis session with psychologists, it'd be some weird childhood memory or whatever. Who knows? But yeah, I'm trying to think. Okay, well, if I start cold turkey tomorrow and work from 9 to 1, 4 hours, what would I do? So I know I'm not exercising at the moment, so that would fix that. I'd go and work out. I would go and pick up my son from school. That would be cool. I'd probably watch movies, whatever. Maybe have some more time for some hobbies. Yeah, it sounds pretty good, actually. But yeah, that's for me to work out, right? Now, when I ask you to be on this show and you kindly fill that form, one of the other things you mentioned that you want to talk about is this Millionaire Flywheel. So I'm trying to figure out, how do we segue to that? Because like it's in the name and it talks money, in my view. We just said that money is not as important. Can you explain what the Millionaire Flywheel is and how do we relate that to the guys listening?
So the Millionaire Flywheel is something that the majority of people need at a phase in their lives, in their business, where they're trying to figure out, well, what is the next step? And the reason that they need that is because most people put too much pressure and too much expectation on vehicles that for most people won't ever give them the outcomes that they're looking for. So how do we get to a flywheel? Well, first of all, we need a funnel. A funnel is linear transaction. Leads go in the top, sales come out the bottom. A framework will take a funnel and it will create a loop, because it'll put content into the front of it. It will bring out clients. There's onboarding, there's referrals, whatever else, which generates more. So it becomes easier and easier. A flywheel is essentially a stacking of offers, funnels, and frameworks together, and a way in which they can coexist alongside each other without having to fight and vie for your attention as the business owner to be able to operate and to run them.
You're talking like between lead gen and retention, or for example. Like that's commonly like fight or flight with agencies in the service space. Like they get to set a number and then now they can't handle more clients. And now they're looking after clients, or they try and go for more lead gen and they lose clients.
So that would be, so that dilemma would sit within a framework where there's a problem with that framework model. The flywheel, as an example, would be, so I've just taken on a client who I'll be speaking to tomorrow for the first time, actually. And so they've got a really successful agency and they're wanting to run a SaaS. And they want the SaaS because they like the idea of having a lower ticket, like a mid-ticket price that they charge, but which is more hands-off, less time and everything else. But what is happening for them is they're putting more emphasis into the SaaS, which means their agency is dropping. And so rather than two things building up at the same time, it's a replacement of one or the other. And so people struggle to be able to stack offers. And so they tend to just replace one thing with another thing, even though that's not what they're trying to do. So the flywheel is essentially, how do you create stacked offers, funnels, and frameworks that can continually grow and continually be sustained by managing them cohesively? And I explained kind of that quick overview to get there is because, let's take a funnel, for example. I see people that teach coaching, training, 6-figure funnels and all that sort of stuff. And the reality of it is, it's not a 6-figure funnel. It's a framework, right? So a funnel, if you can get a funnel to 5 figures, you have done so well. Now, most people will think 5 figures is shit. It's not good enough. It's not 7 figures. I'm not Alex Hormozi. I'm not this guy. I'm not this lady. I'm underperforming. No, build something to 5 figures that can achieve that nicely, sustainably, wrap it in a framework. So this is when it starts to become more delegated, more automated, more simple. Get it so it can run down, so it becomes an efficient model, which requires next to no time for it to be operated through you. Okay, what's the next one? And you then put together these as a combination of income streams. And if we look across income streams, there was the old quote years ago that I read in the book. I can't remember who originally said it. It's a few different people have said variations of this, but the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. And what's really weird is over the past 5-7 years is every single person, not every single, that's an exaggeration. I hear it on multiple occasions where people are like, focus, one funnel, one offer, one audience, like everything else is noise, double down, focus. That's why you're not successful. You're not focused. You're not focused. And I've been one of those people too. And I think there's a lot of value to that. However, I think now with the new world that we're stepping into with AI and all the advancements and technology, I think what used to be discipline, I think now is becoming negligence in the business. And rather than being focused, it's more now like la 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 la. It's to avoid, doing anything else. And why is that a problem? I think it's a problem because value isn't valuable anymore. It used to be that it would take you 5-10 years to become an expert. And along the way, you'd share your stories. But after, 10 years of doing this, hey, I'm the expert. You should listen to everything I say. I'm really cool and smart. I'm the expert. I would say a decade ago, the idea of 10 years experience may be valid. Over the last 10 years, you would have a year's worth of experience 10 times. Now, you've got a month's worth of experience about 120 times. Like, things change so rapidly. I was actually talking to one of my clients, was laughing about this. You could take a 12-week course in something, and by the end of the 12 weeks, the information that you've learned is no longer valid. Like, things are changing that fast and that rapidly. And that isn't true for every industry yet, because there's always a lag. But it's definitely going to be the truth for every industry pretty soon over the next couple of years. And so if value isn't valuable, well, what then is valuable? Speed. Everything in the marketplace now is about speed. Who announces the new information first? Who launches the new product first? Who adapts and changes this new marketing system first? It's speed. Fast, 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 fast. Fastest wins. Now, if this is the new economy, let's just assume that everything I've said is 100% accurate and it will come to fruition. Well, how can you win with speed if you're only focusing on one thing? You can't. It becomes a limitation. So you actually have to have adaptability and agility in the marketplace, I believe. So the Millionaire Flywheel, why does this all tie back in? Because if we go to this idea of the old 7 streams of income, right? Well, for me, there's roughly 9 different types of income that you can earn, right? Whether it's your software, IP, licensing, high ticket, low ticket, subscription, yada, yada, yada. Everybody will always be strongest at one area because of their particular skills, knowledge, experience. I'm not denying that experience will still have some level of value because it will bring confidence to people. I've been for 20 months in a row, I've been talking about this thing. So you're going to have confidence about it. So that will always be dominant. But there will also be additional things that you can plug into it. A bit of low ticket, a bit of software, a bit of agency, a bit of IP licensing. The problem that most people will face, though, is if you was to give them tomorrow 4 to 5 income streams, they would go, how the hell do I, number one, run all of those? Number 2, how do I market all of those? Number 3, right? And you kind of see the problems that people start to have. Like, it's hard enough doing one. How can I do multiple? And herein lies the problem / opportunity. Because if you can figure out, how do I run multiple businesses? So I'm agile in the market. I'm still dominant in where I'm most comfortable and strong. I'm able to run them in such a way where my funnels and frameworks actually make this pretty much self-sufficient through AI agency and all these other tools, through delegation, low cost because we're now in a worldwide economy, right? Send it over to the Philippines and paying a few dollars rather than $40, $50. That is what the best players on the market is going to do because they're already doing it. What are the options available to you? You either play the game or you don't play the game. If you play the game, you have to play it in the way that you're going to win. If you don't play it, well, I tell you what, it'd be really useful to understand what everyone else is doing. So you can be like in the old days, you used to be the ambulance chasers, right? The lawyers who'd come around when there's an accident so you can hoover up in and around these people. And then there'll be the rest of the market who are twiddling their thumbs thinking, what the fuck's just happened? And they'll slag it all off and moan about it. And they'll probably be left with scraps. And the market, in my opinion, cannot go any other way than the way of what we teach within the Millionaire Flywheel, which is a multi-offer, multi-passionate, multi-talented entrepreneur who is creating a business which allows speed and agility to be able to launch things quickly and fast, but also that is part of a stacked economy. So things are always driving back into what is a steadier, more long-term income. The final thing that I would just say with that is when most people think of how they're creating offers, historically, we've always thought of niche of a niche of a niche. And there's a problem with that way of thinking, I believe, in this day and age, because content that is niche of a niche of a niche speaks to only a small amount of people. Content that just speaks to at niche, so it's broader, speaks to a lot more people. Well, we're all trying to create viral bits of content. Well, niche of niche of niche isn't viral. Broad, mainstream is viral because more people give a shit about it. More people find it funny. More people can engage with it. So we have to find a blend of how can we create something which is, number one, mainstream, so enough people at a macro level can plug into this. Two, which we can segue into a product. Three, rather than being so quick and agile where everything is, here's a brand new idea, here's a brand new product, here's a brand new service, it plugs into some level of long-term thinking and idea. For example, the 4-hour workday. I could teach that for the next 25 years. Same principles will always apply. The method to achieve it, that's going to change. The Millionaire Flywheel. I can teach this method now for the next 5-10 years. The ways that it's taught will change, but the idea will remain. So it's how can you find an idea which is evergreen? It's probably not the right word, but I think people understand like the concept and the idea behind it. So it has enough longevity and bandwidth so you can have these new products and pop-ups that sit within it, but it fits in that bigger thinking piece. So you're not having to change what you're talking about all the time. Here's how this little thing fits into this big thing. Oh, here's another new thing. This fits in because it fits into this big thing because I'm the big thing guy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that. Definitely, we got a lot of shift belief, a lot of paradigm ideas here. So thank you for sharing, right? Can we do like a portion of that millionaire? I know this is what you teach, but like just to bring it home for anybody, that's probably including me a little bit. I'm trying to like grasp the idea in a bit more. I'm more contextual, like, or not, I'm more like practical is what I was saying.
Sure. Yeah.
Give me like an example of like, how do you approach this millionaire flywheel in a context of running a SaaS agency?
Okay.
GHL.
So most people probably come to GHL because of one to two reasons. They either see the business opportunity, right? So therefore, oh, an affiliate, or oh, I can white label. So it comes from income opportunity, or it comes from necessity because they're already running an agency. And so, oh, here's a tool that might facilitate this, make this easier. So I'm going to go with the agency side first. So they've already got a main product, which is their agency service. So if you want to create a stack of offers, well, the first thing through the agency offer, all right, what is my main funnel for that one agency offer? 2, what is the framework that is going to create a loop-based marketing system so the bigger it gets, the more it grows? Here's a really simple example of that. My wife, for a long time, was a really successful bridal makeup agency owner. So she did bridal makeup, but then also she had people that did it for her as well. She would do the job, take photos of the makeup and post that to social media, which then created more people wanting her to do the makeup and her team to do the makeup. So it became self-fulfilling. The more she did, the more she got, right? That's a really great framework. So what's the framework for that? Here's like a really quick, super quick example. Client of mine is a coach and he coaches people on Zoom. I said, well, that would make a lot of sense, right? That's how you do that. I said, how long are the calls? He says, an hour. I said, could you fit the calls in 55 minutes? He said, yeah, probably. I said, well, now give an hour call after 55 minutes, wrap it up. And then for the last 5 minutes, say, is it okay if I ask you a few questions so we can share this to our social media about your biggest lessons? Okay. Well, now he coaches for 55 minutes. The last 5 minutes, he creates content for his socials. He puts them on the socials, which then creates teachable moments. And that then creates more leads. The more clients he gets, the more leads he gets more. right? And it just becomes self-fulfilling, right? How do you find the loop? Once you've got that working and operating, only then do I think that you should be looking at creating a second or third income. And then you just look down, all right, I've got the services bit. What are the other options? Low ticket, SaaS software. And then really it just becomes about that balance of what's the opportunity? Are there loads of people looking for this? Where's the enjoyment? Where's the skill, experience, expertise? Am I actually good at this? And is there any longevity to this, or is this just a quick one? And you just find the balance and you go, no, actually, yes, there's something there. And what do? You just go through the exact same model. Let's create the funnel. Let's test the offer. Okay, it seems to be working. Now let's build the audience. Now let's create the loop, create the framework. Okay, great. Now let's make it operate. So it either doesn't require me, or it does, but it's minimally, or it's automated, or it sits alongside something. So there's always a lead generation source without me having to do anything with it. It's always going towards it. And it runs. All right. Let's find the third thing. Let's find the fourth thing. And, sometimes the different income streams, they don't even have to be related or linked. So one income stream that I think most people should be considering is something through a non-profit or charity, because there's so many cool benefits. Now, I mentioned that I'm really passionate about my football. So we've created a company. It's called the Modern Football Academy. It has nothing to do with anything else. Nothing to do with the Millionaire Flywheel, nothing to do with Hello Freedom, nothing to do with our SaaS, nothing to do with the coaching, nothing to do with the speaking I do on stage. Nothing. It is standalone charity income stream. And the reality of it is, fuck all has happened with it yet. Because it's early days. We've created the idea. We've got the website. We've created the relationships. We're in conversations now with the different local authorities to start getting grants for it. So I say nothing's happened. Nothing in terms of a revenues happened with it yet, but there's been a lot of work that's gone in behind the scenes to kind of get it to a place where we can do something. Now, if I have something which is an outlier, none of this other business is going to send traffic over this way. Apart from maybe I could leverage a little bit of my audience, say, oh, by the way, we've built this other thing. And I could also go, oh, hey, here's some lessons that I learned, when I'm coaching people over it. So there's a little bit of crossover. But in the setup of that, I just need to consider everything. I need to run a funnel. I need to create a framework. And I need to consider that there's going to be a lack of lead source that is going to come from anything else. So what is the lead source? And how is this going to be able to operate sustainably? And if I can answer those questions and I can solve that today, tomorrow, in the future, what's that going to look like? Fine. Then we can go ahead with that. If I can't solve that, if I can't work that out, even if we've gone 3-6 months into the project and we go, oh, we've got to kill this. This ain't the one. Fine, we just kill it. But we've learned lots that we can put into the next project, And again, it goes back to that speed and agility. Speed to find opportunities, but also speed to kill them when you realize that they're not there.
Right. Fail fast kind of thing.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And that is actually what is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is the skill of failing really fast, because you are only successful because you failed 1,000 times in entrepreneurship. And AI and everything that's happening now is a way to accelerate that rapidly. Before, it would maybe take a year to kind of get idea concept. Now you can do it in an afternoon. And so you
literally.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's why the skill of the 4-hour workday, to kind of circle it back around, that daily practice of boundaries and saying no, the most important skill the majority of entrepreneurs are going to need over the next few years is the ability to say no, because there will be so many opportunities and there will be so many things that you could do and launch. And if you're an entrepreneur, you're already cursed, blessed with the creativity gene. Even if you think you're a logical builder, you definitely got a little bit of creativity to you if you've decided to be self-employed and entrepreneurial. So you're already cursed a little bit with, oh, I wonder if that's a good idea. A great way to test this. Have you heard of Bear Grylls before? He's kind of on TV. He's like Steve Irwin.
Yeah, I
right?
replied to you. Yeah. I did reply to your thing on WhatsApp as well the other day.
Yeah. So I went to Bear Grylls and I'm there, and a friend of mine, he also runs his own business. We're talking. One of the first things we said is, wonder how much money they're making. Like, we're
Mhm.
literally trying to count the people. We're trying to count, right? Because that's how our brains think. Does somebody who's employed and just there for the crack think that way? No, it's a different type of brain. An entrepreneurial brain is always thinking, oh, what if, I wonder if. That ability, ideas, flush them out. Does it work? Yes, no, quickly. What in the old days people might say is flighty, I think is actually such a wonderful master skill for you to have in this new economy. And that actually brings in a lot of really interesting things and interesting people, especially those who are the neuro spicy ones, right? Who have been told for so long that they're wrong in the way that their brains think. Actually, they're the ones that are going to have the skill, because they will just
Yeah.
jump onto something, say, you got to
Lateral
compete with those
thinkers,
people.
all that. Mm-hmm.
Exactly right.
All right, we definitely got a lot of brain juices flowing and lots of ideas here for the guys to think about right after this episode. Would it be okay if we shifted the conversation a little bit from all these concepts that are strategic and I really like them, and go into something a little practical and leverage a little bit on the fact that you're killing it with SaaS, with easy peasy, and maybe share a little bit of an insight, whatever you feel sharing is you're comfortable with sharing. But
Yeah.
like, how does your business model with easy peasy work? Is it like pure SaaS? Is it like ascending ladder offers where you give them only like lifetime access to this thing, and then they're gonna keep upselling, like keep purchasing extra things to unlock extra things? There's different
Yeah.
ways, right? How do
So
you do it?
I wouldn't even call what we do SaaS, like it's software.
Mhm.
We just sell the software with our name on it. And we have templates and automations in there, but it's very mild, because we tried to do it with very complex systems and it just confused too many people. So we just stripped everything right out. And that's in terms of automations. Like, we keep majority of the features turned on, stripped it right out, plugged in 24/7 live support. And there's 4 ways that we grow our SaaS. The first was through automated 5-day challenges. So every single day we have a challenge running. It's a funnel challenge. Join the challenge, upgrade with a trial to get access to all the funnel templates. And we're going to teach you, and you can actually build it, live, but it's automated. The second is through affiliates. We've been very blessed and fortunate through the doors that have opened for us over the years, where we've been in the affiliate network marketing space a lot. So we know that world really well. And not only do we know that world really well, but we know how to create momentum, like, very fast, and to do that at scale. I'll give you an example. Most people have somewhere on the website where you can become an affiliate, right? And that's okay. But what we would do is, as soon as someone signed up, we would say, hey, do you want to become an affiliate, and introduce a couple of people to the platform today? They would sign up. We would go, brilliant, you're an affiliate. Here are some example things that you can post to your social media today. Once you've done that, share them into the community. We'll give you a shout out. Instant. People would join. They talk about it immediately. Most people don't even have that level of affiliate success after months and months and months of sending out some weekly shitty email asking for people to talk about their offer.
Mhm.
So that's the first 2. Automated challenges, affiliates. The third is where we had success was demo calls. Demo calls for us were successful because, number one, we did a lot of new ideas. So we would go, here's a really cool idea that's working for a lot of people. This is maybe something that you can put into your business too. And then we'd say, by the way, we've actually built that inside of a software tool. If you'd like to know more about it, this is how. Book a demo call. And so it would allow us to create personalized demo calls, because somebody would be coming to us saying, I saw this video. I'd like to do this. This is really interesting. And we found that worked because we went through a period, and I feel like this is definitely true in the market right now. We don't do it at the moment. We haven't really done a lot for the last 6 months, really, with promoting our SaaS. But when everybody has got GHL, who the hell are you selling to? Right. And I know only 2 million people have it, but that's what it can feel like, right? A saturated marketplace when we're all kind of seeing everything of everything.
Yeah.
Well, you don't sell your SaaS as a replacement of the SaaS. You go, here's a very specific thing that you can do with this. And so actually you pitch it as, do you know what? I don't give a fuck if you've already got GHL. Use this one anyway. because this is for this specific thing. In actual fact, it's better for you to have some specific GHL only different accounts. So it solves the biggest problem that we was facing, which is I've already got this. No, you don't. And that doesn't matter anyway, because you could just buy this as a standalone. The fourth was we then started to find the problem of audience fatigue. And audience fatigue was happening because we were talking about the same shit every day, and everybody else was hearing about GHL every day anyway. And so we just started to put brands and ideas in front of our SaaS. So we went through an automatic client funnel. We would have, here's a low-cost course, which solves a particular problem. Here's a membership where you can learn more about this particular problem. Here's a software where that particular problem has already been solved for you, and we've already built it all out. And there's a course attached where you can now complete this all for yourself in the next 30 minutes. And they're the four main ways that we grew our SaaS business. And we don't do all of them. Well, to be blunt, we don't do any of them at the moment because we've just sat at our peak, we got to 1,061. We're at about just over 900 at the moment. But I haven't done anything with it for 6 months. It just sits there as we've been prioritizing other things and having conversations with GHL about different endorser deals and kind of figuring out like a next step, next piece with us. So we've kind of just not really pushed it. Some of those things I wouldn't do today because they might not work for us today. However, if we pick apart those four things, what are they? One is, you're not actually talking about the platform. You're talking about something else. You describe the problem and then you give it as a solution. That's one way. Second way is automated. I'm just going to show you how to do this thing with this platform really quickly. Third is other people doing the hard work for us. And the fourth is, again, introducing the problem, but selling it via a demo rather than selling it, another way. Like the ideas that sit behind them are all kind of samey. It's just the delivery method is slightly different. And how do you pick the right delivery method? I don't think you do, because who knows what's going to work best for you. You try a little bit of all of them, see what works best, double down on it. And you'll get some sense of fatigue. Fine, let's introduce the next concept to it. And SaaS businesses really, there's a cycle of 90 days that you need to get people to. If you want sticky retention, get them to 90 days, then people barely quit. And even when they do quit, it's only because they're normally going to someone else's GHL SaaS these days. So it's pretty sticky, and it's got a really good name and reputation. So get them to 90 days, and most of it sticks. But in terms of your energy cycle and audience fatigue, most offers, most brand messages, most ideas, concepts, they're going to fatigue after 90 days anyway. So if you can go, this is our big concept. We're going to run it hard for 90 days. Now we're going to throw it back. Come on, here's the next 90 days. Throw it back. And if you just operate in a way where there's kind of a push, slow down, push, slow down, push, slow down, what it will create is a tension in the marketplace that doesn't die away. And an evergreen solution, it provides some level of urgency of why someone needs that today, rather than, I'll get that sorted next week. It's on my list of things to do. The only other thing that I would suggest when it comes to SaaS is, and this is why most people don't grow to 100 or beyond 100, is they go too niche and they try to solve too big a problem. I think anyone that works in the fitness space is a great example of this. They will have fitness trainers and they will go, here's this amazing way that I've discovered how to sell my fitness programs. And then they go, right, I'm going to launch a SaaS with that exact snapshot. There's not enough people that give that much of a shit and want to buy it. So actually all you do is kind of create churn for your own business. And instead you need to just simplify and broaden out. And rather than solving a big problem, SaaS is sticky when you solve a small daily problem. When somebody has a big problem, they make a big investment and they make a big commitment. And it's transformation. When somebody has a daily problem, it's a frustration, but it's also a quick win. And so it can't be a big thing because it needs to be a instant result. Let's say it's a plumber, right? You ring up a plumber, can't get hold of him. You ring up a plumber, you can't get hold of him. You ring him up a third time, you're going to say, look, mate, you're a dickhead. I've tried to call you 3 times. I've actually got something that can make sure that I get responded to first next time. Right. You've instantly solved a daily problem that they face. that's what will make you stand out in the market. Because most people are like, oh, you make a big decision once a year. You know, how many times you buy a new car? Once every 3 to 4 years? How many times you move house? Once every 5 years? They're big decisions. People make it too hard and too much that it feels like, all this stuff. Oh my gosh, right? Quick, easy, fast, instant wins, solve daily problems. And you solve daily problems, then what happens is people have a daily buy into you, a daily buy into you, daily buy into you. As soon as you get daily buy-ins for 90 days, people go, I ain't canceling this. It's too much like hard work. It becomes a big decision to quit.
Yeah, I tend to over-engineer stuff, like things that I've become known for in the community is like my snapshots and modular thing, which is great. But at the beginning, the way I was trying to sell it was like the whole enchilada, like this whole thing is like, like most businesses are after leads and they want ads. But, the reason why we stopped running ads for businesses is because they had shit nurture. So we actually reverse engineer and focus on the back end. What's your reputation? If it's shit, don't worry about anything else. Fix that. And it's all great, but like, it's, just following on what you're saying, it's so true. Like when you map it out like this and you do a whiteboard session with clients and you map it out visually and you present them this whole idea of how this thing would work, and then you pitch it for 20, 30K and they build it, great. But there's not much happening while you're building and the adoption is longer and it's a lot more work. Whereas you just go, hey, you've got a local business. We've got this one little tool, GMB Optimizer. It was just launched a couple of weeks ago. Brilliant little product. Gives you a little score. You show it to clients. You do a little video. They can actually get it themselves and they can do what it needs to do and get to those 15 points and then the happy days. And that's that one problem, right? Then you go another one. And so you do it's actually a lot less effort on your end and you can automate it. They love you for it because it's easy for them to fathom and understand how this works. And then they're going to ask you for the next thing. So it's
the difference between SaaS and agency. Like most people try to create a watered down, simplified, cheap version of their agency. And that's where it falls down because it's too niche. And it's not to deny that the snapshot isn't brilliant. It is. But is there enough people that want that? Because you have to get, especially if you want to grow into like multiple hundreds or thousands of people, you can't be niched because
no.
And it's not even because there's not enough people. It's because you can't market to enough people. Whereas if you go broad, you can market to enough people because when it's broad, you might have to market to 100,000 people. If it's this niche thing, well, you're going to have to find 1 million people to find 100,000 of the ones that will be right for you. And it becomes a game of economy. Like most people can't grow the business they want to grow to because they can't generate enough leads. That's the fundamental problem that every single business has. And so build a business to the volume of leads that you're able to generate, to an audience that will be able to buy from that volume of leads that you can generate.
I've had many guests on this podcast. There's different thoughts processes, niche, no niche. So this is really interesting. I'm very much open-minded. So, if you argue this way and it makes sense, I'll be like, yep, that makes sense. And if I go back to some of the other episodes, it's like, oh, super niche. Because when you go niche, your messaging is more on point with that specific market. They're going to be much more likely to convert and you're going to get more quality leads. Also a fair argument. So how do we
the way that I answer is
conundrum?
This. If you look at anybody that has 1,000+ SaaS users, every single one of them is broad.
That makes sense.
So, it's we can all have feelings about it, but the clues are there. When you go down to agencies, right, who are super niched, who are maybe crushing it 7 figures, right? I would say the majority are super niche. So, look, it doesn't matter. You can do anything however you want, right? It's all possible. It's just you have to have a pragmatic enough understanding of who you are to understand what your limitations will be. 99% of people, their limitation will be the volume of leads because it doesn't matter if you're great at ads, doesn't matter if you're great at organic social media, 99% of people will still not be good enough to get the volume of leads for the business that they would love to have. It's the biggest problem. So don't build something for what you think someone else has built. Like build something for what is possible for you to build with your skill set, with your knowledge, with the access to asset and funds that you have. And of course, have aspirations to grow it. But most people suck at growing things because they make money, they spend money, so they don't grow, right? Even if they make more money, they spend more money. That's not growth, right? Because you need to kind of keep reinvesting back into the business, which is what a lot of people struggle at. And, that to me gives me the indication. When we came across GHL, and look, this is not to say that there's no niche, right? Because there's got to be some niche, but I'm not saying niche of a niche of a niche. What are successful ones? That. Funnel gorgeous, right? Really pretty funnels, right? But they can be used by anyone. FEA create, build a website, build a funnel, send some emails. Can be used by anyone and everyone. Like these are not super niche products. There is some level of niche, but the broader that it's easy peasy funnels. It's just a software that does everything. It's an all-in-one. It's as broad as it can be. Now, will there be some people that don't use it because it doesn't solve a particular problem? Of course, right? ManyChat might beat somebody because ManyChat solves this one specific problem. And so they go, well, I'll go to ManyChat rather than this. Fair enough. And I'm not trying to say that the way I'm suggesting it is the only way or even that it's the best way. But for most people, most of the time, they will have most success if they want to go into the thousands by going broader rather than more specific. And the other thing that I would say is there also comes then a problem with the speed in which they can actually grow and market it. Because when you go super niche, you go super detailed. Super detailed tends to come with complex snapshots. Now, fine, you've got the difficulty of maybe selling that. We've also got the difficulty of helping, supporting, maintaining, and managing that. Well, that's more time you're focusing behind the scenes than you are actually out there just selling the bloody thing. And people always tell me that you have to stand out. Look, Kajabi, ClickFunnels, lead pages, Go High Level, Stand Store, it's all the same shit with a different name. Like it's all it is. People pick and choose what they like, and Kajabi, there's nothing in there. There's not even a live support in there. Like there's nothing. Yeah. They have millions of customers paying $300, $400, $500, whatever they pay a month. Now it's a great platform, but there's no snapshots in there. There's no clever things inside of it. There's no weekly Facebook group training calls by the founders of the business. There's a community, which is what attracts people in, and then a pretty decent software. So we can overcomplicate actually what the market needs. What does the market need? They just need a tool to be able to do some stuff in their business. Provide them that, and then let them figure out the rest.
So this is perfect. You just said it because that's my next segue. What do you believe, like in your view, what does the future of SaaS look like? Because in my view of what I'm seeing, what I'm thinking is like, you've got MCP servers becoming a thing. Not a lot of people know about them, granted, but like give it a few years and then like it'll be just like ChatGPT now. Everybody knows about ChatGPT. MCP servers will become a thing where you won't even have to log into your CRM. It'll do it shit for you. I'm like, my opinion, I think in a few years' time, those products on the market will be so mature, so easy, so accessible that I don't know, like, do we stay in business or, what's your thought on all this?
I think the biggest problem that HighLevel has is that it's really bloated and there's more stuff being added to it all the time. And I think there comes a point of saturation where you go, enough's enough. And if you look at the likes of like Lovable, right, where you're able to vibe code, right? Build out your own app in a couple of hours. Quick, easy, micro SaaS, I think are going to be super attractive over the coming years, where there's a trend, boom, people jump onto it, super quick, super affordable, not crazy money, solve something. And if HighLevel are able to create enough design freedom inside of the dashboard where you can turn all of their features into one very specific feature so you can sell a specific result, I think that helps them to evolve out of the marketplace in a really exciting way. Because the biggest problem that HighLevel now face is that everyone knows what HighLevel is, kind of, in this marketplace. So we're now having to go out to these markets that haven't heard of us. And you've had the same old dickhead marketers who've kind of ruined it, right? Because they've kind of given the game away and they've told everyone everything. So how do you overcome that? How do you evolve from that? Well, if they really want to lean into SaaS, you've got to allow people to actually create a SaaS rather than it's just a rebrand. And a SaaS this is a particular product, and especially with all the incredibly clever people who are able to build out amazing systems so they truly have the capacity to be able to do that. They don't have restrictions because it's only a single feature. So MAP doesn't become a problem and things like that, where people can go and sell 1,000, 2,000, I don't know, equivalent. Here's an example. What's the trend right now? You do a post on a colored background, you put 5 steps underneath it, right? There is not a single tool out there at the marketplace that allows you to schedule a post and schedule 5, 6, 7 comments underneath it.
Subsequent, yeah, you can only do one, yeah. That's a product.
But that's only to a page, right? So let's say you could do it to a profile, or even you could do it to a page. That one tool right now released into the marketplace would fucking crush it, because every single person out there will go, great, now I can schedule everything. Done. That's that speed and agility piece. If HighLevel, and the problem they're going to have is so bloated, it's built on so much bad code, whether they'll be able to do that, it's going to be a lot of effort. But if they can allow us to break it down into small modules, that I think allows HighLevel to stay on top.
Yeah, interesting. It's almost like this is a perfect segue into this segment called the beef. We have the segment. We've got a couple of segments. I don't know if we're going to go through all of them because of time, whatever. And I'm kind of flexible on this anyway. But the beef, we didn't do beef last time. So it's a segment where we discuss constructive criticism. Well, obviously we love HighLevel, what it does. But like you said, there are, as it's big as it is now, there are some shortcomings. Do you have a beef with a particular feature right now that's frustrating you that you'd like to give? You know how you got the upvotes and like community's dead. Like I don't even go to the community, for example. It used to be so cool, and now it's like 105,000, 107,000 actually last time I checked. Anything I post gets down. There's no point going there. The only thing I go there now is just search if I'm trying to find something. But yeah, I like to hang out in the small communities. But the point I'm trying to make is there's the ideas board, right? That's how that works. It's democratic way, right? Because it's developers got to know what most people want, and that's what we're going to focus on. That's what it's going to be on the next thing on the roadmap. If you've got a frustration about something, the way that it works right now, and this is for you guys listening if you're new to HighLevel, is you got to go there, create a profile, submit your idea onto the ideas board, and then hope that somebody will notice it, will search for it and pick up on it and give it an upvote. And only when it gets a certain amount of upvotes, HighLevel will then put it in their production cycle. Can you promote those upvotes in a group? Yeah, you can't. That was exactly my thought. Like, that's brilliant. That's 100,000 people. Surely there's going to be other people who will be with me on this and I'll get some. No, the moment you post anything like that, post gets down. So you can't do it, which is why I've created the beef segment, which is opportunity for any of you guys listening to submit your beef through the website, highlevelexperience.com/the beef. You just got to have a little audio recording, submit the form, HighLevel form, add your link to the ideas board so we can promote it for you. That's how the beef works. So back to you, Danny. Do you have a beef?
Do I have a beef? No, I wouldn't say I have a beef. No, I probably share your sentiments with the Facebook group. I don't bother with it anymore because you can't post anything.
Like I remember, like
deleted.
I think when I started, it was like 8,000 people. It was so cool. It was like this thing, right? And it's
yeah. So I find that frustrating. But what would I say is a beef? The one thing that I wish they did, which I think would make the whole SaaS experience better, is there is almost no level of actual control over what the thing is. You have the SaaS configurator. You can turn off the features on and off or whatever. Actually, if somebody's coming into your software, there would be a certain experience that you want people to have, right? Start here, do this, go here, little things like that. And look, you can do it with custom coding and stuff, but it just seems that modular drag and drop ability and deleting or removing of things, marketing, right? Fine, there's emails and there's affiliate. Well, actually, sometimes you want to let a couple of those, but you don't want the rest. But you kind of have to leave it on. So
what you're talking about is adoption, which is one of the most critical things when it comes to SaaS. And you've got platforms on the market. I can't remember from the top of my head to give an example, but the most incredible experience on the onboarding side, right? Like you can compare that and like, yeah, well, there's definitely a room.
Yeah. So there's definitely that could be improved with it. And then I think there is a potential disconnect where I don't think it knows what it's supposed to be. And I say this because the presentation, like when you go to the events, like they are really good, slick events, and they are super polished. But it's SaaSpreneur. It's how to build a SaaS. But then every single training, masterclass, it's how to build an agency. And I don't think they've solved that problem themselves. Like, what actually is this? Is this a SaaS business? Is this an agency business? Is it both? Well, how do both blend? I've raised this a lot. As I say, I tend to have a pretty good relationship with head office, and I speak to quite a few of the guys on Zoom or whatever. Where the fuck's all the SaaS trainings? There isn't any. Yet it's SaaSpreneur. It doesn't make any sense. And if it is all about SaaS and SaaSpreneur, then why is there so many just the smallest of examples? If I want to build my SaaS, I go to the SaaS configurator, I make my plans. I then have to go to products. I then have to import from Stripe my SaaS plan for it to actually pull through. It's just shit. It's just,
and you're not even talking about the whole conundrum about V1, V2, which we could get into, and that's another 30 minutes conversation.
There's just little things like that, which, it's the risk that there is with HighLevel is that somebody comes along with a version 2 before they do, which is a less bloated, quicker, more modular system for people to be able to tweak things, which is what happened to ClickFunnels, right? Somebody came around and did ClickFunnels 2 quicker and better and faster and with a slightly new twist before ClickFunnels did themselves, right? And they didn't die, but they took a massive hit, which was like a HighLevel. So that's, and it comes back to one of the things I've been saying the entire time. How do you create success in the new economy? Speed and agility. The problem when you are a huge, massive organization is that it's very hard to be fast. And GHL have done that really well, which is the ideas board, right? Because it allows the perception of speed, because new thing, new job, new update, here's a cool thing. So it gives this perception of speed. Is there actual speed there? Don't know. So that some of my beef will be there, but that's really only because I'm thinking 5 to 7 years down the line and, where do I plant my flag? And you want to, and I've been around this bloody world too much and too long. You want to be able to plant your flag somewhere and know it's going to work for a long time, but also knowing eventually it probably won't work because the next big thing will come along. But you want to be genuine and sincere, right, with your help and advice. And you don't want to, especially new people, right, who may be new to GHL, listen to this. You don't want to kind of put them off and scare them and kind of put fear and doubt into people's minds, because these things don't disappear. But it's trying to find that balance, And I think the other thing that, look, I said I had no beef. I'm on one now. I'm almost hoping. I think GHL do such a great job of releasing updates. I would love to see something that comes from leadership to say, this is what the future holds. This is the vision. This is where we're going. This is what we see happening. This is how the platform is going to evolve. Because people
kind of have a little bit of that, though, like when you go to level up, or they usually have that on the last day of SaaSpreneur. But I think it's more about features that they just waiting, they hold on, and then they release it. You're talking about more about vision, like
So yes. So well, let's even just take it at your word, which is they do that at the level up events. I don't see that communicated out well enough across everything else. Because
No, last year, I literally had to do a roundtable and get Matt Deshawn or Rob Bailey and everybody on a podcast episode to talk about all the big, because last year was big, right? Let's face it, last level up day, which is the last day of the high level up summit. They do the level up day when they release all the cool stuff that they've been holding on for the day. And it was all to do with all the AI stuff. So it's like, and I wasn't there last year. I'm like, wow. Yeah, let's just dive in. And I just organized, I think 8 people, and we had this awesome 3-hour episode. But yeah, you're right. Like there was a really cool article but there could be more, I think.
yeah. And I think it's so that I don't think is communicated well enough out. And I don't think there is anything which really speaks to this is the direction that we're driving the ship. This is where we're going. And I can understand why they wouldn't do that, because as soon as anyone commits to any type of decision, it gives people a decision to make. Do they follow, do they not? So sometimes, ignorance is bliss. But I wish there was something there, even if it's not public, but there's a way that those who wanted to know could access it. As I said, I'm very much plugged into HighLevel, right? We're speaking at SaaSpreneur events. They've sponsored our own events that we've run in the UK with 75 people there. We've got direct communication with all of the top level teams. We've got endorser deals coming, and I still would love, still don't feel like I know who to ask, what's happening, what's going next, which I think would be a cool thing to have.
So let's role play this. Like if you were Sean, CEO, what would your vision look like?
Well, I would imagine at some stage that they're going to have to go public. So they're going to have to start thinking about shareholders.
That's going to screw a lot of things.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of kills the
startup kind
yes.
of.
Yeah.
That's what we love about it. Sean coming at you, this whole startup, it still feels like that, a little bit less these days.
Yeah, it's kind of like Sean turning up in a shirt and tie. It's like, yeah, it wouldn't feel right. So if I was Sean, that would be on my mind. How do I navigate that? Because at some point they're going to have to, because it's just getting too big.
Is it because there's too much responsibility now that you kind of want to spread the load with, or what would be the main reason why people want to, aside from the obvious making more money? But I don't think they were ever in it for the money.
Yeah, I don't think it would be going public would be a money thing, although there would be money there. I think instead it would be a commitment to a legacy build. It goes from startup to legacy, which is it becomes part of the fixtures and fittings, which is a very different type of build, because there's not startup energy, and it has to somehow be able to maintain and sustain, even though there's a new startup, which is like attacking it. And I think that's something which is going to have to happen over the next 1 to 3 years. I mean, I've already seen a couple of times people mention they reckon the valuations now at the billion kind of dollars level. So that will happen at some point, I would imagine. If I was Sean, there's 2 things that we're trying to secure. And how do you keep everyone plugged in? The first is you need to always be focused on development. Because if you focus on development, it means you're always focused on the next big thing. And that's how you kind of keep people in something. And it's how you attract new people. So development's got to be a big piece of it. New ideas got to be a big piece of it. Is there a way that you can, at some point, because the more you add, the more bloated it becomes, is there a way that you can allow greater control? I think there's probably a higher tier in it. So rather than it just being the $497, there's a ultra premium level where you have ultimate control and can do whatever the fuck you want, basically. I think there'll be that. I'm really surprised there's not that, a more premium level. Maybe that's just a capabilities issue, but I think that would be really cool to see. And then I think the final piece of it would be, if I was Sean, the brand as I see it, if it's trying to go down the SaaS route, which means it's kind of forgetting its agency roots, if that's why it sees as the vision. For me, SaaS stops working as soon as everybody knows that it's go high level, which we're kind of ish at that. So the only way that you can move it away from being GHL is you need to have greater control and design elements of the dashboard and what it actually all looks like. And so I know that we can change the dashboard. I know there's customs, and I know there's some companies that offer that, but there's still, it just looks like a kind of shit version of the same thing. Like it's not true customization. I think if there was an ability to truly customize, so it was truly unique and different, what we could all do, I think that keeps people plugged into it where they don't have to reveal it's GHL. In the same way that, and I base it on, WordPress came into the website marketplace a long time ago, and nobody knew what WordPress was, apart from if you was a web builder. And then everyone kind of knew what WordPress was, even if it wasn't a website builder, until it became such a stage where people don't now talk about WordPress for the website because the way that people are building them, people aren't even seeing that. And I think there's an evolution to it if they want people like us to stay plugged in, where we're able to do and create and build whatever we want, and we maintain a sense of control. So they would be my things that I'd be thinking
It's
about.
interesting that you put it to design, because in my view, I was like, even if it looks the same, obviously my view is based on a lot smaller subset of experience than, I don't have that many sub accounts. So it's only valid in my own world. But in my view, I would thought you would have said community, because that's something that's very unique. Community that connected to your personal brand. That's what people aspire to. That's like, yeah, it's GHL for GHL, but I'm going to work with this guy and his team because they do these really awesome webinars. There's particular way how there's an affinity to that sort of an approach, and that will keep me stick. And we go for that any day, as opposed to somebody, even if it's cheaper. So it's interesting. You didn't mention the community, and I wonder why.
I learned a long time ago, Ray Higdon taught me this, which was the principle of 80, 15, 5. And your 5% are kind of your best clients, but they don't actually talk about it, right? And there are some really massive SaaS and agencies using GHL who never, ever, ever talk about it, never, ever contribute to the community, don't come on these podcasts. The 15%, well, that's me, right? That's me and you, right? We're on the podcast, we're in the groups, we're communicating, we're adding value, right? Because as much as it's about, giving back, it's also, right, it's an opportunity for us to use it as an authority piece. And then you have everyone else. For me, that design piece is about everyone else. Because everyone else who doesn't have as much success, if they still have something where it feels like they've created something which is unique and original, you get stickiness. As soon as they just feel like a commodity, the stickiness goes and they bounce and they jump to the next thing. And HighLevel is only successful as that 80% who choose to stick around. Because as soon as it just drops into this 20%, well, we have nothing. We don't have people to listen to this podcast. We don't have people that want to download and use our templates. We don't have anyone to speak to and coach. Like, so there needs to be a bottom 80%. So what makes them stay? They stay despite not having success, which is financial success. Why do these people stay? They stay because they're part of a movement and a community, which swings back to what you say. But also they stay because they have control and autonomy. So they see the sense that this is giving them something. Mm-hmm. When that goes, they go. So I think anything which gives them that is the most important thing. And I think that actually extends out, to things like the GHL affiliate program. I've said this to them for years now. This whole top 10 thing, it's kind of stupid because it's the same 10 out of about 20 people that it has been every month for the last 5 years, right? Because
Same people that got all the time, yeah.
Stupid, right? So, all right, make it a top 100, right? Make it a top 10 per country. Give more people more opportunity for recognition, because people, when they realize they have no chance to win, don't take part in the game. They just don't play. But when everyone thinks that it's the difference between equality and equity, right? But when everyone feels like they've got a chance to receive a little bit of something, they're happy to be involved. So I think it's those things which thinks about the majority of their users rather than just their top affiliates and their top agencies and their top SaaS that makes them want to stay, I think is really important.
Yeah. And on that note, we've done it. 90 minutes. Danny, have you got 5 more minutes for a couple of rapid fire questions?
Sure thing.
Let's do it. What about HighLevel originally grabbed your attention? Was there something specific or a problem you were trying to solve?
I knew HighLevel was out there, but I didn't know it was called HighLevel. I actually put dedicated time in my diary every single day, 15 minutes to research, to try and find out what the platform was. It was like mum's the secret, right? Nobody would tell you what it was. So I knew that there was an all-in-one that I could make into my own. And so what was the problem? There wasn't a problem. I just thought, I know that I can sell a shitload of this. And so there's opportunity. And I remember exactly where I was. It was on a landing page for Funnel Gorgeous. And it was in the frequently asked questions. And I thought, this looks like one of those pages from this thing that I can't find from the design layout. And I can't remember the exact wording, but basically, rather than spending $2 million building our own platform, we built this upon.
Yeah, and we just put our, I read that one. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And I was like, boom. And that was on October 19th, 2022, my son's birthday. And I thought, I can't launch this thing today. So I waited until October 20th and I launched. And I was able to launch because I've been looking for 6 to 9 months because I knew it was out there. So I already had everything because we'd already built all the funnels. We'd already built all the automation. We had to switch a few things over and it was very haphazard and rushed to launch. But we launched it on October 20th. We had 140 people sign up in the first day because people were just ready for it because we'd been ready for it for so long. So
you had the audience. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the reason why. Opportunity. We knew that nice. There was something out there. And as soon as we found it, we knew that we could sell a shit ton of it.
Similar story with Sarah. She had an audience and I think she put a post up in her fluffy socks and she did 700 or signups or so. Some crazy number. Yeah. Yeah, it's impressive. And that's the power of building that community. What are you looking forward to most in the upcoming feature releases and why?
Honestly, I don't know what's coming. So I can't really comment on that.
I mean, you can't be on top of it, right? With only 4 hours a day.
Say again.
I was just taking the shit. I'm just saying, there's no way you can be on top of it, right? With only 4 hours per day.
I gave up a long time ago. Like it's a full-time job in itself, trying to keep up with what bloody HighLevel's dropping. So I don't know. What I do know is there's no point paying attention anyway because everything's going to wait now until October. So we'll see what happens in October at HighLevel.
Right. It's going to slow down on everything, and there's not be much exciting stuff until. Sean coming at you. That used to be my coffee thing every morning. Just looking at. I don't do those anymore either. I just do the little weekly roundup that Ryan and what's his name? Yeah, the other fella. They do. That's a good one. 40 minutes, done and dusted. Sunday thing. Highly recommend it if you guys want to stay on top of it. That's a good summary. If you could we'll probably finish on that one. It's a good one. If you could give one piece of advice to a new HighLevel user to make their life easier when adopting and using the platform, what would it be?
As a user using it for themselves, or are they building a SaaS or an agency?
Let's go somebody who's trying to, wants to jump on the opportunity.
So how do you get your first? So you need to get your first 10 clients. That's the question. If I'm new, how do I get my first 10? Because you get proof of concept. Here's what I would do. My list of things to do to get your first 10. Number 1, I would either sell everything or one thing, whichever one makes most sense to you. If there's something which you're experienced at or really grabs your attention or you think is really brilliant, like focus on that one thing and sell it. If you don't have that, we'll just sell everything. It's an all-in-one. It has everything, right? Because it's the easiest way to sell it. Because you don't need to know the detail. So choose either or. Whatever you choose, I would then choose a couple of groups of people that you can sell to. So if, for example, you're coming into this and you're a builder, right? Go and sell to builders. It's probably an obvious thing to do. Or if not, an area where you feel passionate. Number 3, unless you're very social media heavy, and therefore you probably have a bit of an audience that you can reach out to, I would pick up the phone and I would speak to people. And I would say, can I ask you a couple of questions? And I'd have a list of questions. Do you use anything to manage your business? Do you use anything to manage and build websites, send emails, etc.? and I would get a sense of the type of people that I'm speaking to and where they're at. They'll fall into one of three camps. If people are completely ignorant to everything, I just wouldn't bother selling to them. If people like the idea of a little bit and they're just lacking in knowledge, I'd definitely sell to them. People that are already doing everything and know everything, I'd leave them alone as well. So I'd find that sweet spot in the middle. A bit of knowledge, a bit of understanding, but they're not maximizing, because I think that's where the most sales potential is. If you focus on those people for sales potential, the secondary problem will be they will start asking for help. And so I would then create a system which prevents you from being plugged into only being a 24/7 helpline, which basically limits how and when they can actually speak to you asking for help and support. So it might be twice a week, we do a Q&A on Zoom. It might be you send a support ticket in via email and we'll respond 24 to 48 hours later. So remove anything that's instant, because that will just suck the life out of you, and it will just change it very quickly from I've got 10, now I'm full-time tech support, to actually I've got my first 10, now let's get my next 10, now let's get my next 10. And the final thing that I would just say to that group of people is the only way that you can make any type of significant change ever, which to go from 0 to 10 is a significant change, right? Because the learning curve, the information, the experience you've got to go through to do that, you can do that in 30 days. And how do you do it in 30 days? You have to reverse engineer everything. If you want 10, how many people are you going to have to ask to get those 10? And the reality is you don't know the answer to that because you haven't got the experience to know. So if you want to kind of take an educated guess, say that you convert 1 in 4, maybe you're really lacking in the self-confidence. Well, fine, err on the side of caution, 1 in 10. All right, well, that's 100 people you need to ask. How the hell do you ask 100 people that question? Well, I'm going to have to send a message out or pick up the phone to 200, 300, 400 people. Fine. Just do the math. And all it is a math equation, which corresponds to your ability to sell. You speak to less people if you're better at sales. You speak to more people if you're not as good at sales. And it doesn't matter where you're at. It's just where you're at. You've got to accept it for what it is. The other thing that I would do, assuming that you're trying to do things quickly, is success leaves clues. Well, so does failure. And so the only way that you can recognize the patterns in success and behavior is by retrospectively reflecting on a very semi-regular basis. So every 10 messages or 20 messages or every 10 phone calls, what do we get, right? Who said yes? Who said no? What's the common feedback? What did I do good? What can I do better? And course correct. And accept and embrace failure, 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 failure. I've learned something. Failure, 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 failure. I've got a bit better. Failure, 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 failure. A bit better. And very quickly, you don't have to be the best, but as long as you can just be a little bit better than most, you will make a wonderful life for yourself and for your family. You know, most people get put off by trying to compete with the very best of the best and failing to recognize that actually just to be better than the rest is pretty easy to do. It just requires a bit of discipline, a bit of hard work, a bit of self-promotion, and a bit of humbleness, and you can significantly change things. And kind of trying to keep it to those basic elements, you can start a SaaS. Now, don't then recreate that to go from 10 to 100, because it's the wrong advice. But to get you to your first 10, I think for most people, most of the time, that's the best way to go.
Then a different strategy applies for that next level, like one to many and things like that. Danny, well, or not? What do you think?
One to many, probably not at that stage. Because one to many requires too many leads to get the volume of eyeballs, to get the volume of sales. So, well, it depends on what you mean by one to many. As an example, rather than doing a demo call, which is one demo call per person, you do a weekly demo call where you invite 8 people on at the same time. Like, so there's leverage points, which can create social proof. And that's the main thing that gets you from 10 to 100 is to 0 to 10 is your story. 10 to 100, it's their story. 100 above, it's no longer about a story. right? Because you actually created something. And then it's about systems and automations and processes so you can actually manage the capacity. It's a capacity issue. So get 10 really good stories, tell their stories from 0 to 100. Social proof. And if there's a way that you can create leverage, so for example, you get 10 people on one call rather than doing one call 10 times, that will quicken the time it takes.
Brilliant. Danny, right, thank you so much for jumping on. You've broken the record. I haven't had an hour and 40-minute one in a while. So that goes to say that, I enjoyed what you were saying, and I'm sure that the guys listening appreciate that as well. So thank you so much. Question, is this within your 4 hours today? Does that mean you only have 2 hours left?
Yeah, I'm wrapping in about 13 minutes.
Brilliant. Mate, thank you so much. Once again, thank you for being on. We totally forgot. We wanted to plug something, and this is kind of like a full circle going back to the beginning of freedom. Hello, freedom. Can you plug your offer, please?
Go to Facebook, search Hello Freedom, join the Facebook group, and then the rest from there will become obvious.
And if you've been listening up until this point, then you can probably get a bit of an idea of what it's all about. Awesome.
Exactly right.
Right. Once again, thank you so much for being on. Guys, thank you for listening to today's episode on the HighLevel Experience. If you've enjoyed today's episode, then please share it with your fellow agency mates and other high levelers that you think would also benefit from listening. For show notes, links, and extra tips to help you grow your agency or your SaaS at high level, please go to highlevelexperience.com. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day, everybody.